Thank you so much, everybody, for taking the time to join us today for the AMA we have here with Horizon, um, which is part of the Phenemy ecosystem. Really interesting overall concept that these guys are bringing out. And I can't lie, it's the first time something like this has been brought onto Caesar's calls in terms of the concept. Horizon, their most recent venture, Horizon Marketing is what the entity is called, or the asset is called. HM's the ticker symbol. Just went live. They completed a 400 BNB pre-sale with GenPad. I think that finalized on March the 15th. Had about a 10-day gap between that and their launch, and went to market yesterday. Now, a couple of notable things on the pre-sale, just to mark down. There was a slight discount, roughly like that 40% neighborhood. I think it was 535 BNB on the pre-sale side and 400 BNB or 400 HM per BNB on the listing side. So again, although there was a percentage of the pre-sale tokens that were vested, this is likely what would cause that pre-sale dump. And again, I know the chart looks the way it does. That's not, not uncommon, unfortunately, with pre-sales. And one of the reasons why I really want to stress focusing on the concept and what they're building out. So Horizon, this token that we're here to talk to you about today and introduce, is kind of like that marketing arm, as I said, an initiative to create a global marketing campaign to bring light and shed adoption for Phenemy and their ecosystem, their blockchain that they're building out. A couple notable things in terms of where they're at. Their first node went live in January of this year. So they've been having some older participants and some people who even purchased the HM token a little bit earlier, active in the testing process. So yeah, again, it's definitely not your average everyday project. The concept, I'm going to save most of what the concept is for Ketcha, but it's really interesting. I mean, GemPad did say some pretty good things about this team and what they were building up, as well as the owner from MMKK had some pretty kind things to say about, the idea. So I am interested in highlighting the concept. I'll say for this one, guys, as I mentioned, don't focus on the chart. Just, try and listen to Katja and myself break this one down, what the value is going to be to holders kind of longer term. And, if we give them the time to build it up, what their ultimate vision looks like, not only for Phenemy, but for HM token and those that decide to jump in. So without further ado, I'll pass Ketcha the mic, and make sure you have your reference material up, like your website, your white paper, so you can do your own research and follow along throughout. So thank you again, Ketcha, for being here. If you wanted to start with an introduction, that would be phenomenal.
Okay, so as you said, my name is Katja, and I am a co-founder of the Phenemy and Horizon project. I am COO, so I am the person that makes everything run smoothly. I make sure everybody is on top of everything and everything happens at the time that it's supposed to happen. So yeah, I dabble in all of the areas, but I am not a technical expert, I will say that. And I will answer to technical questions in the best of my ability, or I will be sending those to Nick, and he will elaborate further. I will be the only one speaking today. So that is about me, how I got into the project. So I was in search of a little bit of a career change. I used to head up a design department in a marketing agency. Then I went on to a quite successful nonprofit, did a lot of good things there. I headed up a couple of departments there. And after that, I was kind of searching for my next adventure, let's say, as I think most of us are. And this is how I ended up here. And it's been great with the team and going into all of this. So that is about me.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's definitely quite a, you mentioned that you're kind of working in a digital world before. So maybe not as big of a shock for you coming in here as myself, but I know the way the crypto space operates, just the way people kind of act, and there's just not a ton of like sometimes care for like the other person. It definitely is more of a PvP type environment than, your traditional business world, which, there's definitely PvP if you're corporate, but the overall feel I would say is a little bit more collaborative and a lot more open. So yeah, like it's definitely a shift. I mean, we've seen the bear market kind of humble people a little bit and, get outside of their silos in a sense and become a little bit more open to that cross community reach. And, I remember back in the day, you couldn't even talk about another project if you were in one community, and it's like, get out, you're going to get banned if you mention another project. We're here for only this, right? And I think with what we've seen is everybody should want everybody else to kind of win, right? So with Fenemy, the one of the questions that I threw to Nick early was just, well, why introduce a second token, right? And I think it brings us to a perfect kind of introduction to HM, which you guys had launched yesterday, and the vision behind, what it's going to add into the Fenemy ecosystem. And then ultimately, the thing I think everybody here who's listening is curious about, what are some of the benefits or the value that people who jump into the HM token may receive, right? So yeah, I think for us, it's a great starting point to really jump into Horizon. And I say we'll start there, and obviously Fenemy will get, worked in, and we'll jump into that a little bit later on. But I do want to start with the asset that you guys just had launched yesterday.
So yeah, as you said, so Horizon is part of the Phenami ecosystem. And again, HM is a special asset. It is called Horizon Marketing, so it has like a more tailored kind of a feel to it. So in terms of, to understand what is Horizon Marketing, we first have to start with kind of a Horizon overview. What is it and what's it for, basically? So Horizon is a specially tailored security system that is for critical systems. And as you said, we do have our own blockchain, L0, L1, that we launched in mid-January. And that system, that blockchain is ramping up. So we've been doing things for that as well. And we also have a unique trust consensus model, which relies on horizontal connections, on entity reputation. Basically, an entity within the system is basically anything. It could be, sorry, it could be a user, it could be a group within the system, or whatever it is. So basically, an entity is anything within the system. And also, we have our real life behavioral patterns of real people, basically. So that is a little bit of an overview of our consensus. We will have further documentation on that. Our development is actually going a little bit faster than we have the time to write our documentation, but that is one of our high priorities right now. So and is actually part of our marketing campaign too. So look out for those. Those will be available soonish. While we're working on them. So again, the network was launched. The capabilities are getting wider and wider, and are gradually expanding. So we can't just dump it all on, because we've been developing for more than 3 years at this point. So again, we're returning to Phenami. So Phenami, let's do this analogy. Phenami was the building blocks. So that is the things that we've been building, and that's all in there. So we took all of those tools, basically the base of that, and put it into the Horizon ecosystem. So there is that parallel there, and Horizon is very much part of the Phenami ecosystem. We plan that by the end of spring, our system will be fully operational. So we are very excited for that, and I kind of have a lot of stuff that's that will be running up to that, and in terms of marketing and in terms of what we're doing with our system at this point, which we will get to, I think, a little bit later. But so Horizon marketing specifically is, as I said, a specially designed token to actually launch an extensive marketing campaign for all our systems products. So by owning and engaging with this token, you actively contribute to promote and more so gain widespread recognition for what we are doing here. So this includes the Horizon ecosystem, the Horizon security blockchain, the Horizon consensus, and lastly, this is going to be affecting the Phenami token. So these are two different assets. The Phenami token is basically a cross-chain, and it's a big part of the reputation model within the system. And again, the Horizon marketing token is an exclusive marketing tool for us, but they are both within the system. And this is to cover all our marketing activities, products, assets, highlighting the significance of those products, and just kind of making our ecosystem more widespread and more known to people, because we are constantly looking for integrations and stuff like that. And again, as I said, we have been developing for over 3 years, and we are in a constant state of development. So that is a big part of our day-to-day activities. So yeah, the benefits of holding our HM token, and again, we are a long-term project, so this is not something that you should be in for, let's say, a one-day type of situation. This is something to hold long-term and kind of interact with that in that way. So what we offer for the HM token is, first of all, again, for not only for the HM token, but for our holders, are 0.5 dividends on all token transactions that are based on your proportionate share. We will have staking, which will come a little bit later, somewhere in the spring. So I know it's already spring, but we're looking at April, May, somewhere in those in that vicinity. So we're gonna have some airdrops and some competitions as well. So I recommend joining the community to get access to those and know when everything is coming out and when we're going to have airdrops and other things. So that is another benefit of holding our tokens and taking part in that. And again, there's going to be like more of a tier-based system. So depending on how much tokens you hold, you can participate in this or participate in that. I think that's like a more feasible kind of construct. So then we'll have some NFTs. They're going to be algorithmic. They're going to have things baked into them. So most likely it will be tokens, and if you hold that and don't unlock it for a certain amount of time, you'll get a certain amount of percentage on the tokens that are baked into that. So there's going to be some fun stuff with that. We're going to probably team up with an artist or something, because I myself was at one point part of the NFT community. So I think it would be fun to actually get some fun stuff going there. Plus, it'll be pretty, plus it'll have some benefits for our holders. And one of the last ones that's actually been discussed quite in length, because I feel, and not only me, I think is one of the most interesting ones that not every project has. I don't even know if any project has ever done this from the like Web3 NFT space, is a equity interest exchange opportunity. So people that hold the HM token for more than 6 months and more will be able to exchange their Horizon system asset for a share in an international holding, which is, I think, kind of a cool concept at the moment.
Pretty awesome stuff. Like the one thing that I was curious about, the interaction between tokens, because when I was going through the white paper, it mentions that you'd be able to swap out your HM token to receive benefits within Fenemy. So I like that. And then it said once the HM is swapped, it's burned, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
in terms of the mechanism to add that deflationary element in HM. Now I'm just trying to figure out the connecting impact to Fenemy, like the token itself, or like the benefit to Fenemy as an ecosystem for having those people convert over and burn that HM to receive those perks.
Well, we don't promote it as having like I don't know, let's say like a true, like a connection like you're talking about. So we need to think as Phenami, the token, as another system asset. I'm sorry, not another system asset, but as a tool within the system. Again, it's used as a cross chain, and it heavily influences our reputation model within the system. So for, let's say, people who use the system, I think, which we'll talk about a little bit later, that we're implementing at the moment, and what kind of other things that we are planning and doing at the moment, it will be maybe a little bit more apparent on what that would look like, but and what you can do within the system, and the whole reputational model, and why you need it, and why it's something that is integral to the system. So yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we'll get into that maybe a little bit later on as you feel it kind of fits into the discussion and where we're at in the project model. For me, like where I think I noticed for the pre-sale on the HM token, you had roughly 110 contributors. So what's the community size or the holder count looking like on Fenemy as a token versus HM? And the reason why I asked that is I'm just trying to figure out like a percentage or how many of those individuals may be involved in Fenemy and holding that token would have been the early participants, and what your essentially new user base is going to look like, because that, you know, is something we talk about not only for project like this, for anything, meme, utility, whatever. We're always looking to onboard and get new users in there. So figuring out the distribution of newer holders to the Fenemy ecosystem on HM versus maybe people who are already holding Fenemy and then also jumped into HM, like seeing how you guys have been able to expand your reach and your new holders from your previous to your current, was definitely something that I'd be curious about.
Mm-hmm. So, yes, we do have Fenemy holders, and again, we've been in development for 3 years. So there's a lot of people who invested, let's say, in Phenami, who still support us, who are still with us, and we're going strong. And they also would like to enjoy, let's say, these benefits that HM offers. And of course, there are some, but in the last in the time leading up to this launch, we've been able to gain a bigger platform and much more new people and new users that, not users, but new people that are interested in this project and are interested in helping expand it, because we do solve some, we hope on solving some major problems and kind of bringing our whole world into the real life. That's a very big thing for us as well. So yeah, there, of course there is a connection, but I think you're trying to maybe make it a little bit more connected than it actually is. So we have had a big influx of new people who are interested in the project, again, as we did our pre-launch AMAs and stuff like that. So it's given us the opportunity to reach a wider kind of audience, and even maybe a more multicultural one. So it's been fun to explain what it is and how the project works. But we do have a big influx in new, fresh people in the project that have joined our community, and we have enjoyed having in our community and discussing these things. So it's been a bigger influx of fresh people, of fresh holders.
That's really good to know. Definitely curious, and that's one thing I'm always mindful of when a project that has been running for some time introduces something new, right? You want to be sure that they've done a good job onboarding, not just, you know, people who believe in the vision from kind of prior to the second asset coming into play, but also those who maybe see value or are very intrigued by the concept being a bit outside the box, being very unique between everything you're doing there at Fenemy and Horizon. So no, I appreciate that answer, Ketcha, and definitely important to touch on the fact that you guys are bringing in new blood. It's
I believe
really,
that's
really
very important. Again, we have a very complex project, and across a couple of countries at this point, and we're growing bigger. We're doing the groundwork that needs to be done in terms of bringing this project into the real world and implementing it already. And of course, it's been actually a real pleasure to be in contact with new people and kind of getting our feet wet in new territories. And it is a real pleasure to have a lot of new blood actually that actually do believe in the project and want to see it succeed.
and like for me, when I was initially kind of doing my research, especially on like the Fenemy side, and I don't want to get too deep into that, but like the use case and just like how you guys kind of talk about the product in terms of like family safety and like how it's not language or terminology that you're going to see across like the blockchain or the DeFi space very often, right? So I just wanted to ask, like, what's been a challenge for you, you know, in that runtime that you have with Fenemy of getting people to be willing to listen? Because that's what the biggest thing I've kind of found is the attention span and just the willingness for people to even spend a minute or two listening to your project. Sometimes they're not willing to, right? So like, what have you found has been very effective for spreading, you know, the brand message for Fenemy, being that it is outside, you know, a typical scope, and people kind of have to spend a few minutes to start really learning about it. It's not just, oh, a picture of a dog, oh, I can buy that, right? Like there's some layers. So
Yeah, a picture of a dog is always cute. A kitten is even cuter. So again, we've been around for a while, and basically when we were even launching Phenami and stuff like that, I know the attention span of people has been growing less and less, of course, and we've I don't think we've actually encountered like a super like a wall or something, we've been able to, I mean, we've been doing like community AMAs and stuff like that on a monthly at least we try to do it on a monthly basis for our community, and the guys that are in there. So even if somebody comes in, usually, yeah, we have a lot of complex stuff and things like that, but we've been kind of, I don't want to say dumbing it down because that's not something that we really like to do, but kind of making it digestible. So making it in digestible parts is really good. Plus, if we're talking about our, let's say, community from different languages, we've been connecting with people that are truly interested, that came for like the token but decided to actually open the website and read it, and then come to us and ask us in our DMs, be it or in our community, where you just get to explain one-on-one. That's actually been really effective, because if you explain the project one-on-one to, let's say, someone with from a different country with a different language, they get to spread it to their communities themselves. So that's a part that has been fun and actually been really effective. So basically, you need to get one interested or two interested, and then they go spread to their communities. And we've gotten a lot of influx from that. And we've been working with people with Chinese languages, with Arabic languages, that have been just taking that info that they were interested in and learning from us one-on-one, that they reached out to us and say, oh, hey, I don't understand this, please explain. And then you explain it, and then it goes into a whole different conversation. So there's been a lot of one-on-one work, and they've come through for us. They've gone to their communities, they've explained it and saying, oh, hey, there's like this interesting project that could be beneficial to, let's say, again, the safety security aspect. So again, like I said, Phenami is a tool. It's a set of tools. Let's say it's like a toolbox, right? And that toolbox can do the safety security stuff and the park ranger stuff and everything like that. We just took that and basically we kind of built a little house with it. So that's how we've been interacting. And of course, the AMAs help that we do in our communities. And we also, those people who are super interested and super time invested in our project, they go take the English AMAs, and they translate it into their languages in voice or in text form. And that helps out a lot. So it's really good to have like a core community that is willing to help out with time, learning about it, and then spreading it further.
I'm gonna have to pop into one of the AMAs that you do in the community there at some point when they're live. I know you mentioned you try and do it maybe once a month. When you go live, definitely let Nick know I'd be interested in just kind of hanging out and seeing how the community and everything interacts with one another. So get him to ping me in the future if you could catch it. That'd be awesome.
Okay, yeah,
good to kind of
we'll
get that.
definitely keep that. Yeah, I'll
Yeah, no,
definitely
it's
tell
just good
him.
for me. I like to kind of see how those discussions go, how the team and communities interact one on one. It's really, especially on long term projects, because you do need a more not convicted, I guess, but like just people who are more patient. I think, because conviction, I don't know how many people, really believe in long-term utility plays, like 100%, just to be 100% frank with you, like the concepts and like what they're trying to build, I think get people excited more so than the fact that, they get maybe emotionally connected to any specific brand name or project. So yeah, like it's always something for me that I like to pursue, how teams and communities interact, because I think if you can get a feel for the vibe and the support level, you can understand like the patience and the amount of I guess leeway that a team's going to have to ramp stuff up and really build and kind of get a fair shot at scaling. So yeah, happy to jump in one of those. Now, HM. I do want to go back to the token.
Mhm.
So the Horizon, so you have Phenemy, like you have the Horizon blockchain, and then HM
Mhm.
as an asset class has kind of functioned more towards the marketing side of things to scale the marketing campaign, more so global awareness is kind of what you alluded to in your earlier answer.
Mhm.
Now, within the Horizon blockchain, like just because of how a blockchain works, like if you think about Ethereum, ETH is obviously the gas on that. If you think about like Shibarium, you have Bone functioning as the gas behind that blockchain. As you guys scale your blockchain there at Horizon, what is going to be essentially the functioning as your gas or the asset that's linked um, from a transaction standpoint within? Is it going to be BNB? Is it going to be HM, Phenemy? How is that all going to work when it comes to the back end side of the blockchain for Horizon?
Well, we don't have like a classic blockchain, so there is no like one core system asset within it. To learn how that all goes down on the backside of the whole system, I will not be able to elaborate on that one. So maybe Nick can
Yeah,
jump in
because
the chat and answer that question.
one of my questions to Nick was like, I know the big differentiator that you guys claim through the white paper and just reading through materials is the consensus mechanism that you're utilizing. So um, one of my main 4 points that I wanted to have Nick cover would just like essentially how are you guys like a blockchain? What's the difference? Like how the consensus mechanism that's stressed a couple of times within the material makes you different here. So if that's more of a Nick question, happy to
That's
give him
more
some
of a,
time
yeah, it's more of a
to maybe just
documentation question, actually,
yeah.
that
So I did
again, that we're coming, yeah.
actually, you know what? Now that you mentioned that, Nick did send me something that I wanted to share with the community here. Where is it? The Ank Horizon info section is good for that question here. So just drop it for people.
Yeah, the info section goes more in depth of how the blockchain works in not maybe more simple terms, but in a little bit of a more wider range. But still, it's not the end of the explanations. And I know some people really like to go techie. And again, we are working on. We are developing all the time. We are working on stuff all the time. So that is something that we will be updating. So that is not the end of the info section. Every time we have updates on the website, anywhere else regarding info, because again, it is an extensive project. So we make a community post about it all the time, even if it's like small tweaks, because a lot of people like to come and read those, because we're not always available to explain stuff, especially when we're doing groundwork with the implementation of our project at the moment.
Okay, perfect. No, I appreciate the clarification, and I did again drop that document for everybody to be able to follow. Nick had mentioned that pages 5 to 7 on the Horizon white paper would probably be the best source to find a little bit more clarification on that as well.
Let me
Perfect.
see. Yeah.
Now, yeah, so I think so
Are you
I'm
still
trying to
there?
make sure I don't. Yeah, no, I'm just trying to again. I don't. I can't make my questions super technical, and typically with a project like this, the bulk of the discussion would be just very technical in terms of like block speed, how it works. Just like scalability, like how you guys potentially get other projects. Again, it's just because it's so different, and I've never really hosted a project that's scaling like this. Like how you guys get other communities or collaborate with other DeFi projects, like what the value that, you know, Horizon and Fenemy could add to other communities from a partnership standpoint, from a, you know, an onboarding, cross exposure. I mean, just getting you guys in front of different communities that are already in crypto, right? Like it's harder to pitch to somebody who doesn't have a wallet set up than it is to pitch or position your project to somebody who maybe just never heard of you, but they're already active and buying within the space. Like that's a lot less barrier to entry than it is to pitch to a completely web 2 user, right? So that's kind of what I was getting at, is like, how do you guys position this, scale this from a partnership collaboration standpoint? Because that's how like other L2s or stuff are able to really get your user growth up, right? So
well, those questions I can't answer, actually.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, so let's jump in there.
Yeah. So at the moment, we are, as I said, we are really into the whole real life aspect of this. And as you said, it's harder to pitch to just regular people, right? But we have, actually, it's been kind of easier for us at this point. So we have around 10 plus agreements with companies and territories and government agencies right now to implement our system. So we have these, let's call them partner projects, but they're partner projects in the sense that we are developing for them, with them in mind, with their wants and needs in mind. Just implementing our system, but doing, let's say, all the front end work for it as well. So these are fully our projects. But we have partnered, let's say, with them to have the chance to implement, and the chance for real life users who don't know what blockchain is, who practically don't even need to know what blockchain is. So if, let's say, a user would like to know, all that info is in the app. Well, actually will be in the app. We are finishing up the app and the Android and iOS at the moment for a system called Territory. This is a system, I'll just go over it in a use case based scenario, because that's going to be just a little bit, I think, a little more digestible for people. So basically, let's say you have a national park. I know you guys have some nice national parks in America, some big ones. Well, anyway, anywhere over the world. So we're talking about large, vast territories where, let's say, internet connectivity isn't always available, and second of all, there isn't always available, let's say, search and rescue. You can't put them every like 2 miles, right? So, and these territories are huge. Like one of the territories that we are implementing in right now has around from 3 to 5 million people go through it each year. And this is like a national park. So that's huge potential right there. So when they enter this territory, they scan a QR code, and basically everything, all the knowledge and everything about this territory is downloaded into their mobile phone via this app. So they have to download the app. So it downloads automatically, and they get all the info. This is a solution that is useful for the end user, as well as, let's say, managers of this territory and search and rescue that relates to this territory, and police and everybody. So basically, we're bringing everybody into this system, and we are actually working on that right now. And actually, it's been quite effective, and they're not they're not against it. So they're like, oh, we actually need this. So we've been working with advisors from these places, and they're telling us, okay, we'd like this. And we're like, oh, we have this. We have a solution like this, and we can put it in. So, and once this is downloaded, they obviously, the group of this territory is open. So we have some geofencing there. So you can, if you're a manager of this territory, you can mark off places where people shouldn't go. And if they do go in there, they'll get a warning they'll get like a warning popped up on their mobile phone that they can't go there. And this will work even without mobile connectivity, as long as you just have like GPS or whatever. So that works perfectly fine. We've tested it in quite harsh surroundings in the mountains with no mobile connectivity, well, with sparse mobile connectivity, let's put it that way. And it works quite well. Geofencing works like a Swiss clock. And they get notifications if they're coming up to a place of interest or some old tree or whatever. You can basically make it whatever you want. And
I love the use case. For me, now I know some parks are not parks like you're talking about parks, but I'll elaborate. I know some parks have stuff like this in place. If you talk about Disney or Universal, I think the use case potential for something like a theme park or like a zoo, something that covers a fairly large geographic area, has large numbers of points of interest. And in the situation of a zoo or a theme park, sometimes you're like out and you're like, oh man, how close is the nearest bathroom? Like, you're trying to figure out, like, do I make the journey to like a more centralized or popular area of the park to try and figure out, do we keep walking and hope we find one maybe in the more rural areas of the park? And again, because those, I love the use case potential in terms of search and rescue, warnings for, I mean, we've all heard on the news, doesn't matter where you live in the world, a situation where somebody, was out with their family and ended up taking a wrong turn, and then they're on the news either missing or they
got eaten by a bear, mountain lion.
Like just show up deceased, find the body like somewhere within the park a week later, 2 weeks later. I think that situation has happened, or everybody knows of a situation on the news like that, like across the globe. It's probably everyone can relate to that. So crazy good use case in that sense. Really, really unique. Now the push notifications, you mentioned that they're able to come through without, huge service requirements. Like, you can have very minimal service and still receive the push notification for safety purposes.
Yes.
Super unique.
And send them as well. So you will have like basically a panic button. Let's use basic terms, right? You'll have a panic button like in there as well.
You have on your phone, where if you, I think it's on my power button, I think if I click my power button 4 times, like I could have my phone off, and if I was just holding my phone, say I got held at gunpoint, and I clicked my power button 4 times when my phone was off, just holding it in my hand, it would automatically reroute and dial 911. Found that out the hard way when I accidentally clicked my power button being drunk one night.
I think we've all had that experience.
Emergency call. And I was like, emergency call. What did I do? No, cancel. So like something like that. I'm curious how,
but here
how
you don't need
works
to,
on the back end.
Yeah, you don't need to talk to anyone. So basically it just starts sending a signal. We pack these signals in micro packs so that they are able to be sent even if you have super low connectivity. Again, we're not saying this is 100% you'll get saved in like 5 minutes. No, but search and rescue will have a much easier time helping you if there's basically a search area of 5 miles, either than 500 miles or 50,000 miles or even 50. So that's just going to be a lot easier. Here, you don't need to talk to anyone. So basically, if you push this button, you can either send short messages yourself, or you'll have like some pre-readied messages like, I need help, I broke my leg. One project, not project, but concept is the same, but we're working with abuse victims in houses where they can't call 911. They can't actively talk on the phone, but they can send a quick message or just choose one, and then the authorities will basically know that there is something wrong and that help is needed and help is dispatched. So you don't need to actively be talking to anyone. And if we're talking about other use case scenarios with just regular people, not in a park scenario, again, we're working on one of those as well. Concept is the same, but for the elderly with mental health issues like dementia and stuff like that. Basically, you can also geofence them in their apartment or wherever. And let's say you're a younger relative or somebody, you can set this up on web. So you don't even need to give the person a phone. It can be a wearable, which we are also working on. If the person stays lying still for a certain amount of time, it's triggered automatically. So there are things like that. So it's fully customizable to anyone for basically any purpose. If we're talking about like search and rescue, not only search and rescue, but again, like we said, abuse victims and people with mental health issues as well.
Oh man, I'm talking to my coordinator a little bit in the background. Really cool. Like, this is one of those projects where, like, you might read the post, and again, if you try and do the research on your own, you're probably not, at least at the first crack at it, going to come to the right conclusion of the use case potential and everything. But once you like really peel it back and start to listen about how it can be implemented, how it can actually benefit people, I can't lie. It's really, really cool. And very unique. And so this is a different kind of
It's
question,
weird
Katja.
for a Web3 project, right?
Yeah, no. And this is exactly what my question is going to kind of touch on that. And so much of DeFi and so much of crypto, again, no offense to any other projects out there, don't really solve any problems. They're just kind of there. They compete within the same kind of scope. There's 1,000 dexes, there's 400,000 swaps, like, there's 150 different bots that exist out there, from a charting, from a trading, from a sniping perspective. There's a lot of overlap, is what I'm trying to get at. And not a lot of what exists from a utility perspective in the blockchain actually solves a problem or creates a solution in the real world. You guys have that unique capability with your tech, but it's like one of those situations where you guys are actually able to solve a problem, but will people care? And again, I don't mean any offense by that question.
Yeah.
But it's a very difficult thing to position. But you guys are actually bringing value not only to the blockchain, but you're bringing value to like humanity, in a sense, of a solution that can better people's lives, better people's families' lives. If you have a family member with Alzheimer's and you're worried about them going missing, or, if they go on walks and you're worried about them, wandering off. I live in a small town, up in Canada, and I can't tell you the amount of times I used to see on the news in wintertime, grandpa or grandma goes missing from family home,
Wandered off.
old age home, and they get found 2 days later, frozen in a bush somewhere, not like actually frozen. They're still alive, but they have like hypothermia. They're not in great medical condition. And, that's a lot of stress on a family. So like, you're unique in the sense that you can actually solve a problem. You can bring value, not just to the blockchain, but It's like you're not, like I said earlier, you're not just some picture of a dog, right? So people may not be willing to give you that time of day. So yeah, again, I don't even know how to word the question. It's just very cool use case, very like nothing I've ever heard before. But will it translate, and how easily will it translate to what people use the blockchain for right now, which is, unfortunately kind of a casino type mentality. So yeah, I don't know how to word the question, but I know you exactly know what I'm getting at with it. So I'll kind of just throw the mic back to you and just get
Yeah,
your take on.
I think I understand. I'll throw another use case at you that we are working. So that app is launching in July, the beginning of July. So that's going to be very nice. We are, as I said again, we already have 10 contracts for that app. And for those particular use cases. And so I think that will, first of all, that will make people care. And it's going to be active and live, and we're expecting a big influx, especially since the territory we're implementing on in July, we're actually already implementing it, and the launch. That territory gets 3 to 5 million people a year. And so basically, what they're going to do is they're going to make it mandatory for people to download the app. And again, if I'm sure people probably have the answer is what the hell is blockchain doing in here as well? So basically, once the person downloads the app, we've made the onboarding process basically as simple as it gets. It's a one-click registration. So when you first, if you just want to use the app and you want to remain anonymous, you just push one button, register, and it gives you your ID and your secret code, and that is it. You don't need to enter any of your personal data. If you don't want to, you can just remain anonymous in there, but that will actually kind of affect your reputation within the system. And your reputation within the system means you can work with certain types of blocks. I mean, not blocks, but certain types of transactions, and certain types of, you can contribute to certain types of groups or to certain types of help and stuff like that. Again, this is like a people's thing, and we're also wanting to facilitate sort of a people help people type of a situation as well, where if you're just closer and you think you can help in that certain situation, you can go and help, and that also boosts your reputation. We need the blockchain for data security basically as well within the network. So once that person downloads the app, the chain of blocks begins building on his mobile phone, on his mobile. So blocks are building material, and that is part of I think that answers part of your question probably. And the second one is right now, again, we have another contract for verifying intellectual property rights and giving intellectual property rights to other people. And that is actually a big contract that we are already working on having our tools in that as well. That was we actually got that at one of the conferences that we were at a couple of months ago. And there were some representatives that came up to us and like, so we were like researching your project online. It was like a 3-day conference type of situation. So they were there a couple of days, and on the last day, they're like, we were like looking at this, and you know what, for a couple of years, we've wanted this solution with a blockchain and intellectual property rights, and we haven't been able to find someone that would be able to facilitate that. And out of reading what you're offering, it looks like you can give us that. And we did some talks, we had some conversation about that, and they decided to go with us and with our solutions for this, and we are working on that as well. I hope that answers some of your questions at least.
It's tough. It definitely answers the questions. Like, you guys have the the value there. But it's just now getting people to kind of notice it and understand how the value can be utilized kind of in the real world. Now, what type of barriers to entry exist, not on anything to do with the token, but
Mm-hmm.
now could somebody go in and download like the actual tech from like the safety, download the app without holding either Fenemy or HM token? Now, like the reason I asked that is just trying to see how quickly or how fast you can scale up the brand outside of the blockchain. And then once people maybe see, oh shit, we can invest in this too, like that will open up. I think for you guys, the success will come if you position the solution first without people necessarily knowing there's like the token and the investment arm behind it. And I think that is because, super impressed by I guess, how many different options. The word is escaping me right now, but just how flexible the product can be and how many different industries or sectors it can be implemented into to provide that kind of feeling of safety, security, those real world examples of search and rescue. I wish my coordinator was here because my coordinator, Buck, is actually a firefighter in real life, and he does teach the water search and rescue course for his hometown. So he could really understand, and he's from a smaller place, which is very filled with lakes, forests,
Yeah.
and not the stuff you would want to find yourself into if you're lost.
Yeah. See, we have actual real world search and rescue advisors as well. So we've brought on people that have in-depth knowledge of what is actually needed and how they operate. So we know what they're doing. And actually, part of the team, even the devs, have some past search and rescue experience. I mean, that's how this all got started in the first place. So yes, to answer your question or more of your recommendation, that's exactly the path we are going for. So you don't need tokens to download the app. You can download the app, start using it, and you'll just see that you have an account in there. You have some points, basically, like some credit points that you can that you get for downloading the app, that you can see that, oh, okay, so I can go use these at a certain cafe on this territory. So that is one of the actual, if anybody wants to know about how we are planning to monetize this as well in the real world, is that these are also ad revenue opportunities for organizations that are prevalent in certain territories where we operate as well. So you'll get these points that you can go spend, and then you'll see, oh, I need this to like make my reputation bigger. Okay, I'm gonna go search that, and the person finds all the information if that person gets interested. And as we found out, a lot of people get interested again as we've been growing our community. This is not easy to explain. But once we kind of lure somebody in, it's quite a fun experience.
Again, personally, like there was a couple different ideas or use cases that came to mind with me. Like, you guys, do you have something set up that alerts people, say if their login information was data breach on their email, on any of their, like that type of stuff, just because of how frequent people could be listening, be like, well, I love the concept, I love the idea. But like how common are these, like, incidents? How common would these search and rescues be needed? So to showcase the tech, they might not get the ability to do it every day if it's not a common occurrence. Although really making a nice name for themselves on, like, on the niche side of things. something that's more common, like digital breaches, password leaks. Like, do you guys have the ability to integrate within like an email system? And then, for example, if your passwords are breached, there's a phishing attack, something like that. You could be alerted if there's potentially any strange patterns on an email that's sent to you, like stuff that, again, not as wow.
Stuff
as some of the
that's
search and
simplified.
rescue stuff.
That's a little
Yeah,
more
it's not as wow as the search and rescue
digestible.
use case, but it's a lot. You're going to see a lot more traffic in that type of a use case versus something that's more of a one-off or more of a rare emergency situation.
Yeah, so basically that is a separate like solution that yes, we can make available if need so be. Because again, the way we protect data again with using our blockchain is that, let's say you have a data breach, right? But the person, let's say, that manages somehow to figure out your ID and your secret password, secret passcode, that thing is, I think, is like 38 digits long, if not longer. That person won't be able to interact within. We'll have this basically use case within the app, but it could be integrated into email system or whatever it is, whatever is needed, because these are all separate solutions. This is like Lego. You can stack it any way you want. So that person that basically decided to steal your account, he won't have your mobile device. And that chain of blocks that was created, that started being created once you downloaded the app or whatever, right? That's not on that person's device. And he won't be able to make any changes 2 weeks plus until that chain is formed. So in 2 weeks, not in 2 weeks, but of course the person will be notified that there has been a breach of some sort. But thankfully, he knows that that other person won't be able to do anything in his account for 2 weeks until he gets hold of his account and starts and resets everything. So that is a safeguard that we are really much proud of. And
so within that 2 week period, like, what would be the recourse from the user who was attacked, for lack of a better terms? Like, what is their process to go back in and remove or purge their account of any exploits? Like, is there a kill switch where any access points can be taken away, and then it requires like maybe an update on the password?
Yeah, it requires an
access,
update on the password. He just goes in, logs in, because that person won't be able to change the login information. Also, he won't be able to do anything. So basically, he just logs in and that's it. He can't literally do anything because there is no chain. Because it always goes back and asks, oh, is this block there, or is this block there, or is this hash there? If it's not, then he won't be able to do anything. So you just go in, log in with your info, and change everything. And yes, a kill switch, kick him out, and that's it. And change your password, obviously, and get a new one.
Yeah, no, that's really easy to understand, kind of like the recovery process. We'll call it that for now. Should any of these breaches or exploits happen. No, really neat stuff, and definitely something you need to kind of have in place. We always talk about, I guess, the flip scenario, not an exploit, but what happens if, similar to, a question that comes up for wallets. Well, what happens if you lose access to your private keys or your login information? Is there a recovery process? Is there another way that you could have a two-factor authentication, which links another email and another account? Just trying to figure out.
I understood. Stuff. Yeah, I understood. Right at this, like today, No, but we are working on it because we are working on two-factor authentication right now, actually. That's being done on the back end, and we've been discussing that a lot of what type of other ways of authorization within the app or the system or whatever can there be. So we're working on it.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask about kind of onboarding. So when we talk about, and again, it's kind of a question because you're a blockchain in the sense of how it operates, the block aspect, the transaction side of things, but you're not a traditional like layer 1, layer 2 EVM or anything like that. So onboarding and I guess user growth, like a lot of the times when chains will scale out, they will have somewhat of a forecast built out to know, as we have X number of usage, the speeds we can push through will be Y. If we scale it 1,000X, the impact on our block and transaction speeds will be this. And here's how we could be kind of certain of that. So again, tough kind of question to fit to phrase or maybe word, but I'm curious to know, like, as you guys go about the scaling, what type of back-end infrastructure may need to change if you guys like 10x, 1,000x the number of users or the number of people within the Phenemy or Horizon ecosystem? Like, is there any impact that could have as you guys really start to scale it up?
At this point, everything that we've been testing, and we've been testing a lot, we've actually tested some parallel transactions. And at this point, we don't see, again, we've thought of these exact questions when, again, developing and still do, but as we've tested and we've tested quite extensively, there is no impact, and we don't anticipate there to be one within like speeds and stuff like that. If you want to go in more in depth, I'm sure Nick will be able to, but all the tests and everything on that side that I'm aware of, and I think we've even written that in our white paper, is that there will be predictably there will be no effect, because again, as I said, we are kind of anticipating like at least 3 million people to go through these territories and download the app and start using it and start figuring it out. Plus we have this intellectual property rights thing going on, and this is all within one ecosystem. So at this point, after extensive testing, I mean, we've been in development for 3 years and we've been testing this stuff. Our blockchain went through like 3 or 4 really rigorous testing pools. And the last time that we tested it, everything was working nice and smoothly, and we've worked with parallel transactions and all that good stuff, and everything remains very stable and smooth.
Oh, great answer. I'm always just curious to know if there is, a potential bandwidth you're set up for now, and then it's
No,
good to know that you
we're working
wouldn't have that
in the
issue then.
scalability. Yeah, we're working with the scalability, and we kind of anticipate that there will be a lot of users. We don't even anticipate, we are sure of it. So again, the success of any of our assets is dependent on the success of our ecosystem, of our team, of our developments. And we are very much sure of it because we've been here for 4 years and we don't plan to go anywhere soon. I mean, we are steadfast on what we are doing and always have been, and that has our development has always been a priority.
Oh, and I really like that the way that you guys are kind of structured and positioned. Now it's always tough for people hearing about an ecosystem or a project where there is 2, I guess, assets that you can invest in a sense, right? You have your Phenemy token and you have your HM token, which went live yesterday. So the one thing I'll always ask teams, and it's kind of a tough question, because I don't want you to devalue, potentially the other arm, but if you're somebody who only has, for an example, like $1,000 or, limited funds, because not everybody has unlimited funds in this space, and you're looking to, you really like the concept, you really like the use case here of what you've heard in the AMA, but you're looking to make sure you pick or choose the token that would have the biggest benefit within the ecosystem. Like, what would you guys as a team recommend if somebody's looking at this one and maybe only has like 500 or 1,000 to throw in? Like, would the Phenemy side or would the HM side of things give you the better access or more benefits as things continue to scale? I know it's a weird question because I don't want you to almost like cannibalize one to push the other. But if it's limited, a lot of the times people will ask, well, what's going to get me more? Like, what's going to give me more access, more exposure within the ecosystem? And I'll throw that question over to you.
Okay, so I'll say this. So HM is a long-term investment. But again, we have to remember that we have been developing for 4 years. We're not just your average startup that has grandiose ideas and a white paper or maybe a pitch deck at best, right? So we already have something. We have an app. We are soon going to launch this particular app that I'm talking about, as well as the intellectual property rights thing. So we have things that we have already done. We've already reached a certain point where we are ready for marketing, right? So that is the use of the Horizon market. I hope I've made that clear, that the Horizon marketing asset is a marketing asset within the ecosystem. So we have a product already, which we are implementing. We have agreements, but again, HM is a long-term investment, mid to long-term investment. So I'm not going to give financial advice, obviously, but HM at this point has more benefits for people, especially looking for like cool stuff like the equity interest thing that I talked about, where if you hold for 6 months, you can get a percentage of some shares in a real company, and you can become part of the team, and the dividends and stuff like that. I mean, Phenemy doesn't have those if we're talking about tokens. So everybody needs to make their own decision on that front. Both to, like, again, the Phenemy token is a tool within the system, so it's a cross-chain and reputation builder. And the Horizon marketing one is to propel our system outwards. So we have a large marketing campaign prepared. We have some very interesting conferences, and these are not just blockchain conferences or like party conferences. These are very serious events that are DeFi, that are cybersecurity. We're going to be in a pitch competition in one of those on cybersecurity, actually. So this is something that will help us and just scale our presence and scale everything. And again, HM at this point has more benefits for the, let's say, end user at this point.
No, I like that. That was really well answered as well. Yeah, tough question, but good answer. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Where do we go here? I had a couple of questions sent over from my coordinator, Vlad. Okay, yeah, no, I have a cool one. So this one's specific to the consensus model that Horizon utilizes in the essentially implementation or recognition of behavioral patterns. So how, from the testing that you guys have gone through so far, what's the accuracy and reliability been like from some of the data that's been throughputed into the consensus model when it comes to decision making. This one's from Fiza Batul, and she was curious because of how different demographics or cultural, like in different cultures or demographics, certain things could impact or mean more. Like, how do you guys assess the data across different cultures, different regions, because the use cases or why the product is valuable to different regions could differ? So again, tough to word question, but I think it is a good one in terms of data accuracy across different regions and use case. So
Okay, so again, more on the consensus is coming soon. Through the testing that we have done, and we've actually kind of encountered this as well with if we're talking about the cultural side of things. And more testing in that regard is going to be done, especially since, again, I think you mentioned in the beginning of the BRICS countries, right? We do have an agreement with some Brazilian cities, actually. So the behavioral model, it consists of, I think, 120 minimum of 120 different aspects of how the user interacts, mostly within the system. So what he does, what kind of groups he interacts with, and stuff like that. If we're talking about within the system, if we're talking outside of the system, at this point, with all our testing, it's been pretty positive, and so yeah. More, you're going to have to wait for that documentation to come that is being written, because we do have the stats. I unfortunately don't have those right in front of me to share with you at this moment.
it's okay. I'll just say to Fiza would recommend you just jump into the community. As updates and stuff gets continually built out and added into the consensus model.
Yeah, we have a
it's
newsletter
gonna be
that
the
comes out
best.
once a month. We have a newsletter that comes out once a month with just the key info that you would need to know, and where you can go jump in from to see more info if like a more community chat is not your thing. So you can search the website for that and sign up if you just want to receive like a once a month, oh, they've answered my question finally. I'll go look at that and stuff like that. So that is also an option. But of course, come to our community. We have fun in there. As I said, we do AMAs, especially when we release like big stuff, and we have big updates, especially if we're not like traveling for either the work we're doing on the ground implementation, because it is quite a ways from us, or like conferences and stuff. But we do try to update our community regularly, and especially when we get like a lot of info, or we've been quiet for a while, we try to do the AMAs. And again, we're always open for a chat in our DMs. So if anybody has any like super intricate questions, we welcome everyone.
One question I did have, they were just curious because I guess they had checked out the white paper and that you guys had mentioned there is a staking component coming within HM. Let me see here, just go to the specific question. It mentions that an implementation of a staking protocol is going to be put into Horizon, HM's marketing system in the future. How is it going to function within the ecosystem, considering that the overall supply of HM is fairly limited? What types of rewards will come back if you stake? What are the benefits going to be from essentially locking in your tokens and staking that HM supply with a limited amount from a tokenomics perspective? So that one is from Ade Ufua.
As I said, staking will be somewhere in the spring. I don't have full or info on that at the moment, but it will be coming, and there will be documentation attached to that as well. But like for today, I cannot give you an answer.
Perfect. No, that's okay. Just was curious. I was from ADE, as I had mentioned. Now, another question that I saw three people were curious about mentioning that you guys are BNB right now. Two different kind of framings of the question, but both related to the chain selection. So I'll ask kind of both of them together as one. Process of converting HM tokens into additional or Phenemy tokens or other assets. That was one part. And then the second part is, considering BNB from a volume perspective has definitely dropped off within the last 6 to 12 months. Do you plan on integrating or migrating to a higher volume chain that would give you the benefits of BNB, like the low gas side of things? So obviously ETH would make sense for something like this if you're talking about transactions and gas, but they are curious if you plan to add in additional chains or maybe more of a volume driver right now in this market condition.
Can you repeat the first question? I have the answer for the first question in my head.
Yeah. How do you go about the process of converting the HM tokens into other assets like Phenemy or alt stables, etc.?
So the converter within the system will go live in, I think it's in the next month or so. So that will be up. We do have that facilitated within our system, and it will be available through our system, through our website. So we do have a converter coming. Well, it's already being tested. So it's imminent that it will be soon. So that is the first one. And yes, we are working on other chains as well. We are working on Sol, and we are considering ETH as well.
Love it. Awesome. Now that was a couple other questions that we had come through. Now, yeah, no, for me, like you mentioned, it's time. And I think the more people that you can get in front of, like physically like this, not even maybe, well, just even for VCs, AMAs, and connect the concept and make it understandable about how it can be used. The fact that it's not necessarily restricted any geographic area. You guys have a lot of flexibility. You've kind of outlined, what was it, 5 different use cases, I think, so far for the
at this point, yes.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot going on. Very, very impressive presentation. Definitely one to yeah, it doesn't capture it, I don't think, in the write-up. Even myself, I listened to, some of the AMA that you guys did with MKK and tried to put together a write-up, but then just going through the white paper and the material and the references, it's a lot, right? And I think it gets a little bit, even for myself, like a bit confusing how everything works. Then to hear it broken down in terms of concept to integration, like how you guys can scale it, the barriers to entry being fairly low in terms of application downloads and usage. Like, yeah, there's a lot of interesting components that, yeah, it wouldn't be easy to highlight in like a couple paragraph write-up. So definitely one.
Yeah, we're working on that, actually.
The better, I think, for you guys. Like really, really solid. If you get on the mic and start to break it down, elaborate on the use case, elaborate on the fact that you can go across, 4 or 5 different sectors to add value. And I haven't heard of a competing product, like just, at least not on Telegram that I've had a chance to really dive into, or on Twitter that I've seen. So yeah, like from top of my mind, top of my head, you guys are definitely unique, very different use case, not really geared towards Web3 in that sense, but obviously with the crypto side and you know, you have the Web3 arm, but it's a product that can genuinely bring value to people who don't have, you know, Web3 wallets. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and
Um,
I understand what you're saying in terms of yeah, breaking it down. It's not easy to write up these things though. Believe me, we've been trying. And again, with every AMA, as you said, you listened, everybody has a little bit of a different question and a little bit of a different spin on questions. So sometimes it's easier to word things, sometimes it's harder to word things. And we are working on making we are making an effort to kind of simplify things in terms of explaining it to people. We're working on videos, we're working on documentation, we're working on like pitch decks and stuff. So we have a lot of stuff going on, and I really hope that we can get across that we do have value and that we do have that Web3 element where we do have that blockchain, that all of the good stuff. And we really do want to bring value to everyone, not only like the real world and as well as you guys. And that's why we are trying to kind of simplify it and wording it and do all that, because it is really sometimes hard to explain because it is a lot, but we've kind of in 4 years, we've built out all those little components, and we're now just stacking them in different ways. And sometimes some people come up to us and like, oh, hey, can we use this for this? And we're like, oh, we didn't even think about that. And like and we're standing there thinking, oh, we do actually have instruments for that. So depending on what kind of app you want. So that's a really cool thing about our project, is that we're kind of very diverse in that sense.
yeah, and like even, you know, just a specific example, like say, you know, I'm in my 30s, say I wanted to take my elderly parents, you know, to a national park or something like that. Now would everybody, like the way it works for the like the search and rescue, some of the use cases you've laid out, would everybody have to essentially download it onto their phone, or is one person in the group going to be, you know, good enough to kind of have a base idea of, you know, where you guys would be located, the geographic area that should anything go wrong to kind of utilize as a frame of reference for searching? um yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, like, if I went with my elderly parent, would they have to sign it up? And if so, like, how easy would it be for them? Because if you can make a 70-year-old go through the process easily, like that's how you really scale it into the web, you know, Web2 world.
Yeah, so again, like I said, it's a one-click registration, and wherever we're integrating, we are talking to officials. We are integrating them as well into the system, not only park management or us in particular. No, we are integrating other authorities into it. Especially on territories where it is needed. So it's a one-step register. So you basically download the app. It says register. It registers and it just gives you your ID. You don't even need to like remember it if you don't want to. You can go in a little bit later and like send it to your email or whatever you want to do, or your phone number. So there will be those options. You don't have to later on use both. You can just like maybe send it to your phone, or like your phone number or your email, or none at all. Just have your phone remember it, or whatever you want. But if it's like for if you want to do it for like a one-time usage, yeah, it's just you register and that's it. If you wander off somewhere, you don't even need to click anything within it. If you wander off somewhere, it'll just start pinging automatically, and you'll see, oh, you've gone somewhere where you shouldn't. Do you need help? And that's it.
I love it. Now, shoot, I had Had a specific, oh yeah. So, two parts to my next question, and some of these are specific, examples or situations, but just really trying to figure out how the functionality works for people on the administrative and also on like the end user side. So say for
Mhm.
example, Katya, we're both, we both work at, we'll just keep going with the park example because it's
Okay.
easy to digest. Say we're both
Mhm.
park rangers. You'd be like the supervisor and I'd be like just like the regular park ranger in that example. So how do within within a location or parameter, a park, how do we get administrative rights to like the system to be able to go in, confirm maybe daily warnings, update people on, say for example, if a trail is really icy, if there's some overhanging or falling rocks on a trail, to maybe avoid this part in the path. And then on the flip side, how easy it for users to update the park rangers and the system with real-time information. Say, the park rangers haven't been out since 8 a.m. on the trail. Well, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Some conditions have changed and now the trail is dangerous. How easy is it for, Joe Schmo who's out there on a hike to go into his app, say, this part of the park, falling rocks overhead, avoid dangerous area, injury could occur. Like how easy is it for them to do that? And then how quickly would you guys be able as the administrators to go in, confirm this, verify it so that it gets updated and people start getting hit with maybe a live alert saying, hey, changing conditions. If you're in the area of X, you may want to take a different route of coming back because this path has now changed. Like
Mhm.
that for me shows the real time viability and usage of it. Like that's a search and rescue function right there. Like that is a live search and rescue like potential because users are updating the owners of the territory, and then the territory owners would have to either go out, double check and say yes or no. So it's causing action to occur, which is pretty crazy. Just it's cool, but it's different. So how does that
We've
work
already
exactly?
facilitated that, all of that actually. So if you want, as I said, any user that has entered a specific territory has automatic access to a chat. And that chat is connected to all the administrators that are deemed administrators in this group. So it could be a manager, it could be a park ranger or whatever, or even a group of rangers. So you can have a group within a group. So you have a territory and then you have a group within that territory. And if a person comes upon these rocks or whatever, fallen tree, you can, it is whatever you want it to be. He just writes into a chat, just this chat. You can add anybody from the admin. You can see the admins in a different tab. You can see everyone that's in there. You can tag, say, add administrators, fallen rocks, and you can even attach a picture if you so wish to. And everyone, and I mean everyone, will get this notification. So we actually facilitated a function where you can either within one chat, you don't need to switch chats. You can either, how do I say it in words? You can either private message the administration by just clicking one button within the chat, and it won't be in the whole chat, but it only be an administrator, and so only an administrator would see it. Or you just don't click that little button and everybody sees it. So depending on what you want to do with that, we have actually facilitated that in all sorts of ways, and we're constantly fiddling with the UI UX part of this because, again, we have so much, and we are constantly updating it, testing it actually on live people of what works best for them, and if this is understandable or if this is relatable, or can you figure out how to use this in like 5 taps. So we have facilitated that, and it works.
That's bullish. No, that's really cool. Yeah. Again, like the process of interaction, usage, alerting people, like verification of information within the system, all seems very user friendly, very seamless, quick, easy to do. And I think we talked about it like earlier on, like that you guys are unique. Like you're genuinely with your tech are looking and can already solve some issues that relate to real world problems across a number of different sectors. The IPs thing for me, I can't wait, as more information gets released on that. That's something that's really cool. I mean, crypto, there's no trademarks, there's no IP ownership in crypto the way it stands right now. So if you guys could be a potential option, or at least start the discussion in this sector, that's also a good thing. So yeah.
Well, once we have that up with the whole intellectual property stuff, and once we actually do this for the people that have contracted us to do that, I think we will be starting that conversation, and our system could become actually universal for those reasons. And again, we are part of Web3 in that sense as well. So it would be kind of a seamless thing. So it could be a private sector thing like we're doing now, but it could also be released to the public for usage.
No, that's wicked. Yeah, again, for me, I mentioned, typically allocate about 60 minutes for something like this. And I'd also mentioned to Nick, if you guys were interested, happy to have you jump into our utility showcase that we do on Thursdays with our partners at CoinMerge. What time is the AMA start? 5 p.m. UTC is when they kick off. It's on Twitter. It's a space, about 5-6 different keynote speakers similar to myself jump on a panel, and then we each try and bring a project or two. It's just, shorter elevator pitch style presentations, good cross exposure, good discussion. If you're interested, I can drop you the link. It typically gets published tomorrow, about a day prior to the space. And yeah, happy to have you come by and present if you're interested. Very, very unique concept. And I think the panel will definitely like the potential use cases. But
yeah, we're definitely interested. I don't know what we have planned for this Thursday, but we are.
It is a rolling space. So if this Thursday didn't necessarily work, we do have next Thursday. It's always the same time. We've been doing the utility for over a year now, and then we've been doing our meme culture for about 9 months.
Yeah, no, we'd be happy to totally interact with those spaces. I'm ready. I just don't know what we have in store for this Thursday, but definitely, if not this week, then next week I would be more than happy to jump on there and fully devote my time to that space and be.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a little bit different for the utility ones. It's just a great kind of stepping stone to get in front of maybe, like I said, 5 or 6 other influencers or their communities that maybe, going out individually and paying for each one might be a little bit more costly. Well, this gets you, again, that 5 to 10 minute pitch in front of a larger audience of influencers, and there's always some live discussion. And I think because your concept is so outside the box, is, essentially a first mover, at least within like our neck of the woods here and what we've seen. I know that the panel will enjoy the concept, and there should be probably a good discussion out of it. Now, we can chat more in DMs about this week versus next week. I'll send out the announcement once it comes out tomorrow. And then if it works, cool. If it doesn't, next week is always
next week. Yes.
Yeah. So we'll chat more there, but definitely wanted to extend that to you before we wrapped up the AMA, because yeah, it was one of those ones. I even said it in my post. I said it in our YouTube community, even in MMKK. Obviously the chart doesn't look great after launch, but I don't dwell too much on a less than 24-hour chart. I think if you do, you're not going to
Plus,
last
we're a
long in this.
long-term investment.
Yeah, it's like plus if you dwell on a 24-hour chart, you're not going to be around the space for too long. You're going to lose all your hair and probably leave. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just listen. I'm very like honest. Like I'm not going to sugarcoat things. We've been around long enough. We know how things operate. We kind of know how the industry works. And yeah, like that's just the way it is. I've seen massively hyped pre-sales, thousands of BNB, ETH, SOL raised, and they go to the ground. And then, if the community is active, which these guys have been with Fenemy for, as they alluded to, almost 4 years now. It's not like this is their first project. They've never launched. They just showed up out of the blue, and the chart looks like that, less than 24 hours old. That's concerning. Yes. If it's a new team first launch and the chart looks like that, concerning, yeah, no doubt. But when you have some staying power, when you have some longevity, when this is a long-term project, when there was a discount on the pre-sale versus the listing, that's why I said it in the post, because what that means, without me spelling it out for you, is there's going to be a dump. People got a 30 to 40% discount. They're going to sell at a profit in a market like this to at least accrue back as much of their initials as they can early and let the rest ride. It's just how people are. So I understand that. I think the team understands that. But listening to the presentation, the use case, and the fact that, again, you guys are aware that you're very much a more mid to long-term style of setup. I mean, yeah, happy to give, that added level of exposure and try and help you guys make some connections in the space. So yeah, that's what I said. It's always important to join, because if you looked at the chart and you tried to do your own research without really understanding the depth of it or the use case potential, you probably likely moved on. But if you took the time to actually join the AMA, or if once it gets published on the YouTube, you go in and you actually take the time to understand, join the community, it's quite impressive what they're building, but just requires a bit of time and, some scaling in terms of the user numbers. So yeah, really cool stuff, Ketcha. I'll pass you the mic to close out. But as I said, join the community, ask those questions. And the one thing I think that the team is looking for there to get this thing off the ground is time. So if you like the concept, if you like what you heard, not saying you have to go jump in and buy right away, but what you should do is join the community, stay active, because I have not heard of a concept like this. And I'm always somebody who's looking for something different and something new. And you very much check those boxes. So I'm going to join the community myself after the AMA. I'll stay active and, keep up to date with some updates, because I am curious to see how you guys can grow this. It's very different. I'm going to be showing it to Buck too, who's the firefighter, because I think once he hears about the search and rescue and the emergency services aspect or use case, he's going to be like, what the heck? That's so unique. So you may have a DM from him in the future as well. But yeah, I'll give you the mic just to officially close out on behalf of HM and Fenemy. I know we're over that 90 minutes that I kind of
It's okay.
budgeted. So yeah, I'll give you the time and then we'll wrap up officially. But can't wait to see you in the space in the future.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming, for listening, for hopefully paying attention to this whole AMA. It was quite extensive. I understand that. As I said, we are working on simplifying things, on more use case scenarios. And once again, we are long-term. And as I said, we are not a project with a crazy concept that's just has a crazy concept. We've already done the work. We are building it. We have built it. We have a product. We have agreements. We have places that we are implementing already. This is going to be live in July. So we have super huge potential for growth in terms of the whole ecosystem, in terms of our use cases, in terms where this can be actually utilized, because the toolkit that we have built ourselves is just so extensive. I mean, this started out simple enough, but then it just grew. Oh, we need this, we need that, we need another thing, and we kind of built ourselves a nice, cool toolkit that we can play with, and first and foremost, be helpful to people, and really kind of bring this community aspect to not only the apps and the ecosystem, but also to just everyday lives of people. So thank you so much for joining us. As always, do your own research. If you don't understand something or have further questions, please DM us. If you have technical questions, also DM us. We will connect you to either Nick or one of our devs who will reserve some time for talking to you or explaining something more in depth from a dev standpoint. We are always looking for integrations and projects that we can that we can integrate with and have common grounds with, even on some of our other tools. So yeah, also keep that in mind. And we've been around for a long time, and we plan to keep it that way.
My coordinator is gonna be in touch when he gets back from his trip to Vegas with he went there with a project that he's been helping out with marketing. Their whales got together and did a Vegas trip, so he decided to go down. He invited me, and I was like, I got to work for a living, unfortunately, buddy.
As we all do, as we all do.
No, I tease him, like him and I are buddies in real life, and it seems like between the two of us, he's been traveling for the last month, and I don't think I've taken a vacation since I started 2.5 years ago. So I'm like, yo, how come you
I
get to do
feel
all this
you.
traveling? And
I
was
feel
like, I've been
you.
out here grinding for 2.5 years. I haven't even gone anywhere. I was like, I went to LA for 2 days for a wedding. And if you think that's a vacation, that's not a vacation, because it was about 4.5 hour flight each way. And we had to come back at a red eye, got back at 6:30 in the morning for a 9 o'clock AMA I had to host. So that was fun.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of work as well. Yeah, we do travel, but once you get home from that travel, you feel like you've been, I don't know, you've been hit by a rock, and then you have to go into the office, and we're constantly we're constantly on, and because we have a team across the world, we have we're covering 5 countries with our team, and we're just constantly, again, we have a lot of stuff to do. We have a lot of stuff to coordinate, in terms of dev, in terms of UI, in terms of marketing. So we do travel, but sometimes it gets a lot. Like, we're gonna have the next 3 to 4 months are gonna be very hectic.
I couldn't agree more, and I know Buck, when I chat with him when he's back, I already actually sent him a DM being like, kind of wish you weren't traveling today. The one that I hosted, really use case wise has a lot of potential for what you do in real life, in your volunteer firefighting community and everything there. So yeah, really, really cool stuff. We're in a smaller place here in Canada, Buck and myself, and yeah, I think even it's just with how big and how vast, the Canadian wilderness is too. There's a lot
Yeah.
of potential for a product like this to exist, because every summer there's countless missing boaters, search and rescue missions that go on, because we have a very large freshwater lake system up in northern Ontario, like something like 30,000 islands with multiple small bodies of water, large bodies of water. And then if you factor in things like nighttime, and yeah, it can get a little bit dicey. So a couple of my cousins are actually police officers with the provincial service, and one of them's on the boat unit in the summer, and he's told me some stories that I would not want to be a part of, like dragging people out of a lake after being, drowning for a couple of days. And yeah, it's not
I
good.
mean, it's horrible. It's horrible.
It's terrible, right? And that's why this is very, like I said it early, you are legitimately solving problems, but is like the average crypto degen or person who's like using crypto right now when it's being used kind of in the wrong way with the blockchain, and at this point, are they going to really understand it or buy in for the longer term at this point? I'm not sure, but I know that the industry is going in the right way, that the wheels are turning in the right direction, I would say, in terms of what you guys are trying to do. And as more growth happens in terms of Web2 people coming in, and with you guys now having a huge barrier to entry, it's exciting. So, I mean, I'd rather watch a concept that's different and unique, try and build a foothold in the space, than just see, you know, somebody copy and paste something that's already ongoing and then just try and say why they're better. So
Why they're different. Yeah.
I've seen that every day. It's like, we're 0.2 seconds faster by us. I'm like, well, you're not going to get all of their user base to change over 0.2 seconds. So unless you have another competitive advantage, you're going to be dead in the water within 2 weeks. So good luck. Right. So like, you guys, very different, very unique. I mean, and I'm excited to watch what you're able to do from growth and onboarding. So I'll cut the recording, catch it, but hope to see you either this Thursday or next Thursday on the space, just to keep pushing the message of what your Phenemy and HM is all about here. It's very, very
100%.
cool. I can't lie.
100%. Yeah. Thanks
Awesome.
so much.